Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back up to Aberdeen, which was where I used to live and study, and we're going to visit one of my local breweries up there. And for those of you watching around the world, it's most likely that you'll heard of these guys by now because they are pretty damn big these days. So we're going to go to Brewdog again and have a taste of the This Is Lager beer, which is a member of the core range, and this was released back in 2014 I believe. It was about August because I think it came out just as I left to go to Australia for a while, and I never got the chance to review it for you. And actually finding it in bottle this time has been pretty hard. You can get it on tap in various Witherspoons bars and things like that, but to actually find the bottle to review it for you on here has been a bit troublesome, so I'm glad that I can finally sit down and review this beer for you. And you'll notice on this one the label's a bit different from what it is regularly because this is the Equity for Punks label that they've put on this one. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a very brief history of the brewery. It will only be a minute or two long because I've reviewed numerous Brewdog beers for you before. The brewery website's in the video description for you below if you do want to skip the history part, and there's also a link down there that will take you to my other Brewdog reviews I've done before, and there will be more added to that in the fairly near future because I do have quite a substantial stockpile of Brewdog beer to work through over the next little while. But anyway, to tell you about Brewdog, Brewdog is the love child of James Watt and Martin Dickey, and they were founded back in 2007 at a small brewery in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast of Scotland, right on the tip of the monster's nose. But more recently they've moved their main brewing operations to their new purpose-built facility in Ellon, Aberdeenshire, which is actually closer to the city of Aberdeen. But these guys are very well known for being quite an experimental brewery, and they produce a lot of different beers actually. They were very influenced by the American craft brewing renaissance. They particularly like their kind of imperial stouts and their double IPAs. Those are probably the beers, in my opinion, that Brewdog are best at, but you get a lot of other random ones there. But initially they were known for their kind of high strength beers. You had the Tactical Nuclear Penguin, the Sink the Bismarck and the End of History, and those were all really pretty special beers, but they've kind of gone off that now and they're sticking more to the double IPAs and their imperial stouts and stuff. So they're producing some very, very good beer, particularly since they've moved to this new facility in Ellon. But they've also got a thriving chain of brew pubs. This started in 2009 with the Home Bar in Aberdeen, which I actually went in there on the first or second night that it was open, and over the coming years it spread throughout Scotland, down into England and also into Wales now, and they've got various sites all over Europe. You're talking in Italy, I think they maybe have one in Germany now, they've got them in Sweden, there's one in Oslo, and you know, they're all over the place. They're looking at there's one in Japan and also one in Brazil, and they're looking at expanding out to America and various other things. They've actually decided that they're just going to open up a brewery in Columbus in Ohio over in America, so you can expect many great things from Brewdog over the next little while. But they're actually the largest independently owned Scottish craft brewery these days, and they are actually, what's interesting about them is that this Equity for Punk scheme I mentioned when I mentioned the label at the start of the video, it's actually a kind of crowdfunding exercise, if you like. These guys kind of funded a lot of the infrastructure expansions at the brewery by asking people to fund them and by buying shares in the brewery. So effectively you buy shares in the brewery and you get a lifetime discount in the brewery shop and things like that, and this is what they do to expand this kind of beautiful facility they've got up at Ellon, which does incidentally have its own tap room, so you can go and visit that if you do get the chance. But anyway, that's your kind of brief history of the Brewdog brewery. They've got a whole host of experimental beers and they've got a core range of 6, so as I say, go and check out the brewery website and you will get an idea of the various different beers they do, and I've reviewed many of them for you on this channel here, so do check out that link as well if you're particularly interested in Brewdog. But anyway, to move on to this guy itself, this one is a 4.7% Pilsner. It's got a malt base of Pilsner, Munich and Caramalts, and it's hopped with Hallertauer, Hersbrucker, which are actually a bit drier and spicier apparently than the regular Hallertau beers, hops, sorry, and they've also got Satz and Columbus in there. The commercial description on this one is on the website here. It says 21st century Pilsner, sharp, robust, honest. We had a simple aim to reclaim one of the world's formative beer styles in honour of the great German and Bohemian Pilsners of the 19th century. Brewed with 100% malt, 10 times the hops of most industrial lagers, and cold conditioned for 5 weeks, this spicy, robust Pilsner is lager reborn. Expect a robust, full-bodied malt character on the front of the tongue, spicy citrus notes as it goes back through the palate, and an assertive bitter finish with a lemon and peppery character to round things off. Reclaimed, perfected, renewed. This is lager. And of course, they've always had a lager beer in their core range. The first one was 77 lager, which I never got the chance to review for you actually, and there was also the fake lager as well. I actually preferred the 77 lager to the fake lager, if I'm honest, but hopefully this one is quite good, and it does seem to be quite popular. So I just will let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we do it. Of course, Brewdog last year changed all their labels to this kind of new style, but this one is a little bit different from the kind of regular label. This one has the equity for punks. It does tell you a bit on the side about this. Brewdog is an alternative small company owned by thousands of people who love craft beer. They are our shareholders, our friends, our community, and the heart and soul of our business. This is your chance to join them. In 2010 and 2012, we tore up the convention, turned the traditional business model on its head, and it saw over 14,000 people invest in Equity for Punks, and now it's back bigger and better than ever. Equity for Punks gives you the chance to own part of Brewdog. By investing, you will entitle yourself to a lifetime discount in all of our bars and online shops, as well as a whole host of other benefits, and find out more on the website. So they've actually just done, I think this is number 4, Equity for Punks 4 that they're doing. So this one is this year, and I think this is to help fund their American brewery and also further expansion in Ellon and Aberdeen. And so the label is slightly different, as I say, and this is one of the new typical Brewdog caps on there. But anyway, let's get this guy open and get on with the tasting here. As I told you, it's a 4.7% Pilsner. It's got Sats hops from the Czech Republic, and also Hersbrucker Hallertau from Germany, Columbus from America. There's Pils malt in there, caramel, and I think, what was the other one that was in there? There's a couple of them, but yeah, it should be a very nice beer for us, and you can actually smell the big kind of grassy character coming off this one. It's quite interesting. You can really smell the noble hops as you pour this one, but as you can see, a finger of a frothy white head there. It is clear, so it is completely transparent, but there's a lot of nice little carbonation bubbles going up towards the bottom of the head there. It looks very, very nice, and just a few of the bigger bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but it looks very, very nice lager beer. And this one, incidentally, is actually quite popular in the various Wetherspoons bars that you will find around the UK these days. I know in Scotland, I'm not so sure about England, but in all the Wetherspoons bars in Scotland, you will get this. And of course, it actually does smell quite interesting. It smells like more of a bready beer rather than a hoppy one. Nice big bready malt base on this one. You can really pick out the pale malts that are in this. Yeah, it's got that's the Munich malt coming out in this one. Pilsner and Munich malt give you that kind of breadiness. The Münchner Helles beer, of course, is a kind of staple beer in Germany. It's a big bready kind of blonde beer, if you like. And this one really does smell a bit like that. But other than that, you're getting a nice kind of smooth, grassy hop out of this, I would think. That's probably the Hallertau and the Sats. The Columbus, of course, is an American hop, which kind of is more of a slightly earthy, aromatic and grassy aroma that you'll get off that. It's quite a good bittering hop, from what I believe. But you can smell the kind of spicier character of this Hersbrucker Hallertau. You do notice that, so it's always good to have a little look at the aroma, and you can pick up the various different hops in a lot of beers. It's a good way to actually train your nose, and indeed that's how I learned to do a lot of these reviews, is just by practicing. But yeah, a nice big bready malt base, some kind of grainy caramel and biscuity character out of this too, but a nice big aromatic-y and slightly florally hop as well, but it's mainly a kind of smooth grassiness that comes out. That's more subtle notes that are in the beer, I should say. But yeah, it smells very, very nice. So this is one of the core range from Brewdog, like I told you, the replacement for fake lager, so hopefully it is quite a good beer. Slàinte. I'll tell you something, it is quite a bit better than fake lager, and that's just on first taste. It's a big hoppy Pils beer. It's a kind of ironic thing to say a little bit with Brewdog. It is a craft take on a Pilsner beer, if that makes sense. It's got a very kind of big hoppy presence and just a nice malt base. A lot of these, the one that sprang to mind was one of the Hawthorn beers I had when I was in Australia. That was one of the best kind of lager beers, or kind of it was almost a golden ale, if you like. The craft lager beers, in my opinion, do more border on the lines of golden ales, and this one certainly does that, but it's got a bigger bready malt base in it. Yeah, really, it's got a nice big hoppy bitter character. I'll need to try this one on tap now, actually. now that I've tried it out of the bottle, but you've got a nice big grassy and florally aromatic character that just goes around the edges of the tongue where you normally expect to find these hoppy characteristics of the beer. But then the middle of the palate is actually just blanketed by this sort of nice big typical sort of Munich-y Helles bread malt base in there, and it is a little bit spicy. There is a kind of little bit of a cereally kind of biscuity character to it, and that you do get a little bit of that from the Herzbrucker hop as well. I remember that from some of the beers I tried in Germany. They can come across as just a little bit kind of they do give a kind of spicy aromatic feel, and it can actually spread into the middle of the palate where you're finding more of the malty feel, but you've got a nice kind of big bready, slightly cereally character. Like I say, there is a bit of cereal spice in there, but it's a nice biscuity, grainy sweetness just that goes down the middle of the tongue, but it is quite mild. That it is more of a kind of white bready malt base you're getting on this one. There's a wee bit of earthy hop character on the very back corners of the palate too, and that's probably more likely from the Columbus, but it is kind of a nobly earth hop, if that makes sense, so it could also be coming from the Hallertau hops. What would have actually been interesting with this one, I would say, is if they'd put some Tettnang in it as well. Tettnang, of course, and Hallertau are the two big German hop producing regions. Tettnang, of course, Baden-Württemberg. Hallertau is Bavaria, and then of course the Satz hop is Bohemia, which used to be German, of course, before the First World. I think before the First World War. It was before the formation of Czechoslovakia, but Bohemia, of course, was ethnically German, but now it belongs to the Czech Republic. But I mean, it's a very, very nice lager beer. This is probably, I think this might even be better than the 77 lager, but maybe that's, I can't really remember what that was like. That's been a long time since I've tried that beer, but this is a very, very nice lager beer. So if you like a big, big hoppy lager, then this is definitely one you want to go for. It's certainly better than the fake lager, in my opinion. But a lot of people who are just getting into craft beer do like their lager beers. So I can see why Brewdog kind of do this as a sort of stepping stone to get people into craft beer. But overall, very nice. Like I say, it is a typical Pilsner, a typical craft Pilsner, a big bready malt base, some kind of cereally spice to it. It is actually a little bit peppery, like they say in the description of it, but it's a nice little kind of peppery, cereally spice that's in. There's a bit of biscuity, grainy sweetness that goes right down the middle of the palate. Wee bit of earthy hop character in the back corners of the tongue, but then a kind of aromatic and a smoothy character of it. There's a little bit of citrus on the very kind of front curve of the tongue as well. So very, very nice tasting beer. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, yeah, I would say it quite light-bodied. Moderate carbonation. It doesn't. The carbonation I don't think plays too big a role in this one. You can feel it just smoothing the beer out. It does help bring out some of the dry, aromatic and floral character in this one, but it's got a nice smooth malt base that, like I say, blankets the tongue. But what I would say in terms of the mouthfeel though, this guy is really more of a hop forward beer, which is what you would expect from Brewdog. They love hops, but when they go, it's only really in their dark beers that they focus more on the malts and things like that. They are a very hop forward brewery when it comes to the styles of like IPA, lager, red ales and all of these sort of things. But I mean, overall this is a very, very nice lager beer, and I would say it's probably the best one that they've done so far. So this is lager, should be a very, very nice one. And I don't know if fake lager turned out not to be very popular and this is why they changed it, but you know, it's a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. This is lager, is a quality beer, and I will try it on tap when I do next see it around. But anyway, as usual, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been cool to return to Brewdog once again, and I'm very impressed with this one from the core range, and it is a regular one, so those of you watching all over the world will be able to find it fairly easily. But let me know in the comments section below your own thoughts on the beer. Always interesting to read them. But in the meantime, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I will be back soon with more reviews, and I do have quite a few more Brewdog ones to do for you. So until then, slàinte for now.